couple of years ago, my wife gave me the most incredible birthday present. This amazing Ironman helmet. And it has a bunch of different ways you can control it, like the button on the side, or even voice control. But the method I was most interested in was this basic little remote, because she also got it with this really nice display stand, so I could mount it up on my shelf of nerdiness up there. And I knew right away that I wanted to automate it to open up whenever I entered my study, exposing the arc reactor inside on the display stand. Unfortunately, achieving this turned out to be way more difficult than I anticipated. So in this video, we're going to take a look at the process that I went through and the product which finally allowed me to achieve this. Hi, I'm James, and I've been building out my smart home for years, with products from just about every manufacturer out there, figuring out what works and what doesn't. So the very first thing I did to try and automate this helmet was to test out the remote and try and work out if it was RF or IR based. So to do that, I simply blocked the end with my hand, because IR remotes use infrared light to send signals, so they're usually blocked by simply covering their transmitter. And on that occasion, it didn't seem to work, so I went down the route of trying to replicate its infrared signal using a switchbot hub that I already had up here, but it wouldn't learn the remote's command. So I did some more testing and got surprisingly mixed results when using it blocked or from adjacent rooms, which left me a little bit confused. But since the other common option for remotes like this is RF, I dug out my Broadlink RM4 Pro and tried to learn the RF command instead, which still didn't work. At this point I was pretty much out of ideas, other than to open up the remote and try and solder an ESP32 to the button contacts to drive it, but I really didn't want to break it. So this project has literally been shelved for the last 2 years, until the other day, when I got another surprisingly great Christmas present, this time from ThirdReality. In their frankly bougie Christmas hamper that they sent out to creators, they included their new garage door opener, which they designed with the switchbot approach of physically pressing a button on your garage door opener remote. Since I don't have a garage, I spent a few days contemplating which of my family I liked enough to install it for them. But then it suddenly clicked that I can avoid that argument, because I have the perfect use case for it. This remote. So let's open up the box, see what we get inside, and how we set this thing up. Okay, here I have the device unboxed because I forgot to hit record on that particular video. I paired it with Apple Home. The pairing was no problem, but it didn't really recognise the device properly. So I paired it to Home Assistant instead, and it recognised it as a light, and it works fine. However, it is never simple, especially with this remote. It seems not only could I not replicate the RF signal or an IR signal, but the thing itself is pretty damn chunky. So what would ordinarily happen is this bolt would be in the bottom under here, and you'd rotate it to clamp the remote in place. But this remote is too thick. It's 22mm all in, with its raised buttons here, which are also a problem because they're very close together, and when you clamp it in, it ends up pressing other buttons. So I've taken it slightly more apart than you ordinarily would. I've taken this piece out entirely. I've printed a new one, which is slimmer, and that gives me a little bit more room. And then I've printed a little spacer, which goes in here first and allows me to perfectly position the remote. And then I place this on top and reassemble, if I get it the right way around, because there is an alignment hole over here. So in theory I should now be able to clamp the remote down, screw it in place, and get it all working, assuming I've remembered to put a battery in here, which I don't appear to have done. Be right back. Alright, let's try that again, but with a battery in here. What I plan to do is get one of those like USB battery replacements, so that I can keep this permanently powered, since this is, I don't want to have to unscrew all of this and replace it too often. But for now, for the sake of testing, I'm going to get it all lined up and screwed down. Okay, and there we have it. Slightly loosen those off, I think, just so as the entire top plate is not bending slightly. And then hopefully this piece is going to slide into position. And voila, we now have a virtual switch to physically push this button. So let's go ahead and find a nice way of securing the tilt sensor inside the helmet so that it's hidden away. And I just want to take a quick moment here to talk about the tilt sensor, as it's a really nice addition to this device. Apart from being slower, the main downside of the pressing a physical button approach of making things smart is that it can get out of sync with reality for a variety of reasons. The primary issue is that there is typically no good way of getting feedback when the button press action actually did what it was meant to do. But this is where ThirdReality have been quite clever. By making this button pusher specifically for opening a garage door, they give themselves the ability to check that their button press has actually done what they expected by including a separate prepared tilt sensor. So let's pop it in as neatly as we can inside the lid of this helmet so it's hidden away, but it still reports back that the main unit has done its job. Okay, so this is proving challenging. Gone for a bit of hot glue in there just as like a good enough way of attaching it, but this thing's quite large. Again, you wouldn't ordinarily have this problem with a garage door, but with a helmet, when you press the button, it can catch a little bit. Okay, take two with the trusty gecko tape there. There we go, that opened up nicely, and it's stuck better in position now so that it clears the lip at the front. And voila. And there we have it. I've now finally automated the crucial opening and closing of my Ironman helmet when I enter or leave my study. If you have an equally crucial use case for pressing a single button on a specific remote automatically, then this is probably the device for you. If you'd like to pick one up, the links will be on my website, homeiswherethesmartis.uk, and if you purchase one using those links, I'll earn a small commission at no cost to you. So thanks for supporting the channel. Thank you very much again for watching, and as always, remember, home is where the smart is.